Now, the FPL game has been out for about a day now, so we've had a day to digest prices and the best players to pick. I've seen a few people make videos about players to avoid, but I want to talk about players that are absolutely nailed in my draft. Now, first up is one that I think might be a little bit of a differential, although I'd imagine quite a lot of content creators are going to talk about him going into the end, well, the start of the season, and that's De Kuiper of Brighton. I don't actually have a picture of him in a Brighton shirt at the moment, so we've got his stats that I've been able to find from Bruges last season. He's been signed by Brighton from Bruges, and it looks like Estupiñán is on his way out. De Kuiper's a left-sided defender, and it looks like Brighton have accepted a bid for Estupiñán, which the whole thing I find a little bit strange because I think Estupiñán's a fantastic player, but we're left with this guy. Should be the starting left back for Brighton. And you look at his opening fixtures, not too bad. And I think a 4.5 million defender, the nature of the player, you know, when they have a tough fixture, just with their price point, they're the kind of player that you can rotate for another one when they do. And when you look at his numbers for Bruges last season, he got 6 combined goals and assists, 6 attacking returns, but it's his expected data that looks even more impressive. So he played only 27 games last season, so it says 1-38. That's obviously for the Premier League. Played 27 games, 2.7 expected goals, so should have scored about 3 goals, and 9 expected assists. So that's, what, 12 potential attacking returns from 27 appearances. That's nearly an attacking return for every 2 games he plays, which is pretty exceptional, to be honest, in terms of expected data. And I think that shows the kind of player that he is. He is an absolutely all-out attacking left-back. And I think that bodes well for some attacking returns in FPL. I really like him as an option, and particularly with Estupiñán off. And I think just I wouldn't say a complete lack, because there are a few pickable 4.5 million defenders, but a lot of the better defenders are more expensive this year. He, in my mind, is one of the outstanding 4.5 million defenders. Now, you may have noticed that all of the stats and the data in this video are powered by Fantasy Football Hub. You can sign up to Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description below. They're working on their tool at the moment, planning to bring it out within the next day or so. You'll be able to get your team rated by their AI, which I personally find really useful when helping to pick my teams. And I'd imagine if you pick some of these players, your AI rating will be pretty good. You can sign up using the link in the description to get 50% off, and you get your money back if you don't win your mini league. What's not to like? So yeah, check out my link to sign up in the description below. Now, because we're talking about must-have players, some of them are going to be relatively obvious picks. So Gabriel, for me, I think, is still the outstanding defender in FPL. Now, there have obviously been some really exciting signings, the likes of Aït-Nouri, Frimpong, Kerkez signing for Liverpool and Man City, respectively. But I always like to wait a little bit of time for these new signings to bed in and see exactly how they play. And of course, that they do play. I think there's a chance, particularly with Man City, that Aït-Nouri could be prone to rotation from time to time. And I'm not 100% sure that Frimpong is absolutely nailed on at right back for Liverpool. They've obviously spent good money on him. He's a very well-regarded player. But I think defensively, he could be caught out in the Premier League. And that might lead to Bradley getting some games. Whereas you're looking at Gabriel here. They've still priced him at 6 million. I was a little bit concerned that he'd be 6.5, but at 6 million, I think he's probably still the best defender in the game, even though he doesn't score all that highly for the defensive contributions, purely because he has less to do because Arsenal are like a possession-dominating team. Still think he's one of the better options, namely because Arsenal, just season on season, are one of the best defensive teams in the Premier League. They always keep one of the usually the most or one of the top amount of clean sheets across a season. So he's going to guarantee you some clean sheets. And from an attacking perspective, particularly at the start of last season when Saka was delivering corners, he was an absolute beast from corners. And with Saka being back for the start of the season, I expect that to continue. I do look at these first 5 fixtures and there are a couple of tough ones. Liverpool away, Man City at home in particular. But Man United, Leeds, and a Nottingham Forest team without Elanga, who just appear to have dropped off a little bit, in my opinion. Those could be 3 fixtures where you could see some Arsenal clean sheets and potentially some Gabriel attacking returns. So, yeah, in my mind, Gabriel is still, on paper, the best defender in the game. And maybe as time goes by, we might see some other options emerge, but he's nailed on in all of my drafts at the moment. This one might be a little controversial to some, but I do think Eze is just a strong pick. What I like in FPL is players who play every minute of pretty much every game, which I think Eze does. He made 34 appearances last season, I believe he only missed out due to injuries. He does get the odd injury from time to time, but in terms of when he is fit, he's going to definitely play for Crystal Palace, and he is their absolute talisman. There was a little bit of talk about him potentially moving to Arsenal, but with them signing Madueke and Gyökeres, I'd be a little bit... I don't actually think he's going to leave Crystal Palace. If he does, forget I'm even talking about him, but I think he's going to stay at Palace. Now, his numbers they weren't absolutely amazing last season, but he did underperform his XG by quite a bit. He missed a lot of good chances last season. And I think towards the back end of the season, we really saw the best of Eze, and he emerged, I think, as one of the best players in the game. Fixtures to start, they're all right. I would back Eze to do well against Chelsea, Forest and Aston Villa. They're not the best teams to be facing, but I do expect him to do all right. It's not the worst set of fixtures. And then Sunderland and West Ham after that, a couple of decent ones there. I just think, he's the talisman for Crystal Palace. He's nailed on to start, likely plays 90 minutes every game on pens and free kicks. Just ticks all the boxes of a good, safe FPL pick. And for me, at the start of the season, that's the qualities I look for in a player. Someone who in the long term is going to be a good asset regardless. Speaking of good asset regardless, I think he's had is it a 2 million price rise? He was 5 million at the start of last season, and he's 7 million this season, and that's, of course, Morgan Rogers. Decent attacking returns last season, 19 from 37 appearances, but I think those 37 appearances are what really stand out to me. He is just Unai Emery's absolute favourite, isn't he, Morgan Rogers? He played pretty much every minute of every game he was fit for Aston Villa, even in the Premier League when they were juggling the Prem and the Champions League and cup competitions. He played so much football last season, but he still started every game he was available for in the Premier League. The one worry I do have about Rodgers is that he did slightly overperform his underlying numbers. So he scored 8 from 6.5 XG, and you can see they're almost double the XA in terms of actual assists. But I still think he's going to have a good season last year. And when you look at all the fixture tickers, Aston Villa are number one for fixtures for the first sort of 5-6 game weeks. Once they get Newcastle at home out of the way, which, to be honest, I don't think is that bad a fixture, particularly from an attacking perspective for Villa. They got Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton and Sunderland. I think that's a really nice set of fixtures. And 7 million, when you just look at the landscape of midfielders in FPL at the moment, I think 7 million for Rodgers is a really good price in comparison. There are, in my mind, very few cheap midfielders that I really want to get in my team. Yeah, Morgan Rogers, I don't think you can count him as cheap at 7 million, but it just looks like a really solid option. And he's just going to play every game. He might not get penalties or free kicks like Eze does, but he's going to play every game. And arguably, Aston Villa are a better team. I think Rodgers, he put up better numbers. So yeah, he's got to be one of my must-haves. Boring, I know, but you've got to mention Mo Salah, haven't you? There is a little bit of a debate, I would say, around who would you have out of Salah and Haaland. I've seen some teams with both of them in, but I think you can make a case potentially in game week 3 that there's captaincy alternatives to Salah when he plays Arsenal at home, and potentially in game week 2 as well when he's got Newcastle away. But to be honest, I still back Salah in both of those games. He broke the FPL point scoring record last season. He might be the most expensive FPL midfielder ever, but at 14.5 million, if you're going to captain him every week, he's well worth the money, right? I'm not going to spend too long talking about Salah. For me, he's been in every single draft I've made so far. And finally, I think Dominic Solanke looks like a really good shout this season. The numbers he put up last year, 9 goals, 5 assists from 27 starts, not like groundbreaking. He's never going to be an absolutely explosive striker in my mind, but I think he's just safe. Similar to Eze, he's going to play every game, I think, for Spurs. He's the first choice number 9. And I think, we saw last season, Son has kind of fallen off a little bit. And there's lots of scope for different players to feature on the left, right, in behind the striker at the 10 position. There's so many players that Spurs have available there. But out and out number 9s, I think Solanke's got that spot locked down. And I go back to Son as well, dropping off. He's not going to play that much in my mind, Son, which leaves the door open for Solanke, I think, to take penalties. So what you're looking at here is a starting Spurs striker. He's probably going to play most minutes of every game. That's what he proved to be at Bournemouth as well. He was a good option when he was at Bournemouth in that final season. I think he scored 20 Premier League goals that year, but he just played every game for 90 minutes and took penalties. I think that's what he's going to do for Spurs this year as well. Spurs under Thomas Frank, I expect to be somewhat improved. Even under Ange Postecoglou, they were still a team that put the ball in the back of the net, right? They scored a lot of goals last year. And I look at those opening fixtures. Burnley, Man City's a tough one, but Tottenham always seem to match up quite well against Man City and score goals. Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton. Those fixtures are not too bad. Gets off to a good start. He's a safe striker, 90 minutes every game. You just know the score with Solanke, don't you? yeah, I really like him as an option, and he's going to be one of the first names on my team sheet as well. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that, found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments if there are any other players you think are must-haves that I've not mentioned in this video. As always, I'm always interested to hear people's different opinions. Just be polite about it in the comments is all I ask. And yeah, if you want to see more content from me, I'd be very grateful if you could subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel, which should be just here on your screen. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.